street I'm walking down right now is called Church Street. These overhead roads were built about the time I was in high school, thereabouts. You get a view down here of what Church Street looks like. You walk out a block or so. Brown building here used to be a restaurant all the time. It always changed hands. One person to another, half a dozen times or so. Where Fairway was a little farm place. There on that sign which says South Ottumwa Savings Bank. There was an advertisement for Molly's Restaurant, which is way on Church Street. In about 1963, I took a job for a few weeks during the summer shop in this building right here. Sweepers, and all I was to do was to tear them down and polish up the aluminum parts of them. And I earned enough money that summer to take a vacation to Sacramento, California, and then San Jose, California. Not that bus. 48 hours to get out there and 48 hours to get back. It hasn't changed a great deal. Where Happy Joe's used to be a dairy called Williams Dairy. Where the Rexall sign is down there, Rexall Drugs. The lights flashing up and down, that sign was there then. Of course, the computer or whatever that controls the lighting of the lights would work a little bit better then. Maybe a few of the light bulbs are burned out now. Wall to my left is the grocery store. Coming up here on the left, straight ahead, is the South Ottumwa Savings Bank. I'm not sure what it's called now. Used to be a floral shop in here, right next to the drugstore when I was in high school. The bicycle shop was there where the Dr. Robert, whoever was. The bike shop, I guess, is next door. The jewelry store was there. This was a hardware store. It's since moved down to there. It's called the Pedrick and Thorne Hardware. Still the same brick street. Changed that. in the distance, you can see where I went to high school. Over there in a little bit. Over there is Tony's Flowers, where we order flowers sent to my mom and Nancy once in a while. Where Taco John's is now was a McDonald's years ago. Probably was the first McDonald's. It was back when I was in high school. Probably opened up when I was a freshman in high school. Or sophomore in high school. Johnson's Funeral Chapel parking lot where my Mary and several relatives were put to rest by them. Has been Brown Electronic, that building since I was in high school. This is Sheridan Street coming up here, intersecting Church Street. Where this truck is, it's parked in front of a part of the house. And I used to get, that was a barber shop in there, and I used to get my hair cut in there all the time when I was, most of the time when I was in high school. This was a barber shop straight over there where that barber pole went. It's always been a barber shop. I'm not going to walk all the way back down. This next street is Moore Street. And that's one street over from where Davis is. And Amico Station is in between the Moore Street and Davis Street, so I'm not going to spend too much time going back this way. This was a well-worn path by our feet during the 50s and 60s. Particularly if we didn't have money to buy a bus ticket. We'd take the bus home. It was either 10 or 15 cents at the time. I wanted to take a shot down this street. Aunt and Uncle Ray lived in that kind of creamy brown house down there, right there. Let's come down and haul the ashes up and down. They had a stoker river-fired coal furnace. One more shot back the other way. Church Street, back down towards Fairway again, and the overpasses that I walked under. The tennis courts were always there. This was kind of Southside Park. There's a lot of elm trees in there. It's kind of pretty. There were steps right over in the center over there. We walked down to the river. That was the river then. Now it's just a channel because it redirected the flow of the river and put in a new channel. That was the original channel of the river at one time. And that's over towards the dam. They have built a new swimming pool and so forth. They call it the beach. It's back over in there. It's the one with the blue roof on it. It must be runs year round. This building right here was built as a bomb shelter. As an example for how people could protect themselves back during the early 50s when the Cold War was really going on. There used to be two of them. The other one wasn't quite so substantial like this one is. I don't know what the purpose of keeping it there has been, but it's been there ever since the early 50s. This building was always called the Coliseum, but I can see in its pediment area up there, it was called the Ottumwa Armory. This was where all the big events took place. I remember coming to see, with Dad, to see Spike Jones and his troupe, and I saw the Harlem Globetrotters here one time, and different events. And got into some disrepair, but now I think it must be back in better operation now. The bridge across there is called the Viaduct. In the background there, the green limbs or whatever, parts holding it up. I'm going to walk across the lawn here to the river itself. This retaining wall was built back in the mid-50s as a result of a flood that took place in 1947. There's a retaining wall on both sides, running quite a distance down through town. That was the hydro plant. Generated some electricity for the area. There's still about 3 generators in there. I'm not sure whether they use them or not anymore, or whether they're even usable. When my dad worked at the electric company, part of his job was to come down to the hydro plant check on some things down there. Across here. This is the Des Moines River that was out of its banks in a lot of parts back in July. It looks a lot calmer than it did then, but it's still running pretty deep. Usually, this time of the year anyway, in some places you can almost walk across it. But they've still had quite a bit of rain. Now that's where I went to high school. Up on the hill. There was about 467 or so in my class, 473, something like that. as a result, I didn't get to know very many of them. During the urban renewal project, a lot of the buildings along the river were torn down. So what you're seeing right here is the backsides of the buildings that run on Main Street. This building right here is called the Bowling Hall Hotel, and that was the corner at which the plant where my dad worked is located. His building was right in this general vicinity right there. It was all torn down. There is still some kind of like a little substation right there that was part of the building prior to it's being torn down. So that really changed the landscape when there was a great big smokestack there, and then that building, and then all the buildings that were along here were all torn down as a part of so-called urban renewal. What it was just tearing down the old and replacing it with parking lots, thinking that might help the downtown area, which it didn't. They had a gold mine over there if they'd only left all those buildings, returned them to their original condition. Be a tourist trap. This bridge was closed during the flood of last summer. And at that time they had all of the gates were open. Like this one right now. This dike along here was built in the late 1950s, and these gates to the river were put in about that time. When I was in high school or in junior high school, there were only 2 or 3 gates. I can't remember exactly, maybe 3. They replaced all of them with the rest of these gates. And then the hydro plant has some generators in it, and then the water is forced down below that building and past the turbines that turn the generators, which generate electricity. I think this building right here is the pump house. My dad came down to check on once in a while. When I was in high school, there was a different bridge here. It was a steel bridge with a grate that you walk across, but you can look down and see the water. It was scary and kind of fun at times. There used to be a cottonwood tree right here. Kind of zoom in on that. I think that's the black back in the 1800s, the ferry boats would come up the Mississippi River and then on the Point River, which is this river, tie off there and unload their whatever goods or so forth. like there was a gun show at the Coliseum today. That's why all the cars were there. You can see over there on the wall where the water line has recently been. About 5:20 and it's starting to get a little hazy again. I finish this up tomorrow and it'll be a tour of the other side of the river, the downtown area, and we'll past the high school. And I will pretty much finish up my tour. Maybe I might have time to go on down and take some pictures down where I used to work at the meatpacking plant. There used to be a gun that World War I, or no, it was a Spanish-American War gun that sat about right in here. I think they have that sitting around town somewhere, but I'm not sure where it's sitting now. It's kind of like the watering trough. This has moved so many times that it's probably getting dizzy. This is 70 times about 536. This is looking across the river from the other side. That's the hydroelectric plant back there. People are fishing along the catwalks there. A little sandbar right down here. Talking to Mom today, and she said the water when we're having the flood, the water was clear up to the bottom of the bridge. And down there about the middle you can see a tree that's still hung on to the lower pylons of the bridge. There's a tree right down here that's hung up in the sandbar. So that was like about 15 or 16 foot of water that the river has receded since then. It's washed away a lot of the rock on the far side over there. On the other side of the bridge, that situation is even worse. We'll pan around again. This is where I'm standing is the parking lot. It was for the downtown area when I was going to high school. There used to be a building right here in the center where you could get a parking permit. And over there, not too far from my red car, to the right of it, where the railroad signs are there. There's a popcorn stand. That's when the downtown area was bustling. And now it's not such a bustling place anymore. Walk around, get a shot of the river from the other side. You can see the high school above the building clock on it right there at the top. That's the top of the high school. That'll be my ultimate destination. There's the Coliseum where I was at yesterday. There's a man fishing down there on the block part of the bridge. Still see the sandbags down here. Over there on the far side is where the water really washed away a lot of the dirt. And along the not a seawall, but a wall. So they'll have a lot of repairs to make down through there. And it's, to get things back to normal. Probably have to start doing that next year. This wall, you can see right down through here, was built during the 50s as a flood control project because of the flood of 1947. That bridge was always called the Viaduct. It's been resurfaced a number of different times, and the last time they more modern lights. It used to have a walkway on both sides, now it only has a walkway on one side. There is a freight train blocking my path to the downtown area right now, so it's coming up here pretty quick. I'll walk down towards the downtown area and pick up a few sites, and then walk up towards the high school. This area right in here was also city parking too. But apparently they filled it in as put a dike up here and took out the parking spots. I don't know whether they're going to remove the dike or what they're going to do with all the dirt they put there. But this used to be parking lot over here also. Clear back of the telephone post back there, or the wire on electric posts. When I was going to high school, they didn't have the crossing arms right down about 15 or 20 foot down between those tracks was a building that housed a little, it was a watchman that would, every time a train would come by, he would come out there and stop the traffic. On down the way there is the train station, the kind of blonde brick building with the smokestack sticking up. A tighter shot on it here. We used to go on vacations from this place. Now I'm walking up Market Street. There used to be buildings that it was more of a warehouse district that covered this parking lot area right here. And the building that my dad worked in was just beyond those, that kind of a substation down there, electrical substation. We tore all those buildings down as a part of urban renewal and a hopeful rebuilding of the downtown area, which they tried to do, but it didn't really pan out too well. Building on the point towards right now was called Kresge's. The white building was, as I recall, called the Fidelity Savings Bank. It's really not anything anymore. An outside cellar down there in the far corner. And a canopy out over that part of it. Yeah, it was called Fidelity Savings Bank. That building in the center was the Hoffman building. It always looked like that. Of course, those two buildings next to it, or a building next next to it wasn't there. There was a series of 3 or 4 different buildings there. One of them was a camera shop, one was a floral shop, and the other one was Western Union shop where you sent messages. The bank down there, building that is square. It's called First Star Bank now. That was called the Union Bank then. And that's where we did most of our banking. We're looking down Main Street. It's kind of bleak and barren compared to what it used to be back when I was growing up. I don't even remember all the names of all the stores. I know the first one, beside the Fidelity Bank, was called Yonkers. And then the other one was a women's store. There was a jewelry store, Bookins. Yeah, I guess that's still down there. And maybe that one's the only one that's still the original, one of the original stores. That was a men's clothing store down here. It was pretty good. So all the buildings down the next block were torn down as a part of urban renewal. This urban renewal project didn't pan out, because most of the buildings are run down and or closed. There's a Christian bookstore there. I'm not sure if it's still in business. Goodwill store. This was a place, a store, or kind of a little mini shopping mall in here that we stopped at a few times when we've been back on vacations. There's a store called the Country Mouse in this shop right there. The street we're coming up on is South Court Street. This building right here is new. It was built during the renovation process that took place, tearing down everything and trying to be modern. Back on Main Street. Looks nothing like, or very little like it did when I was growing up. Looking up this way, this is Court Street. The courthouse is straight ahead with Chief Wapello, this being Wapello County. He was the chief of some tribe of Indians that roamed this area years ago, in the early 1800s. On the right side, there used to be a big bell tower, and then there used to be cones on the parapets on the left corner and right beside the main tower. They took it off, took all the tower off, because they thought the building was slipping. It was probably just settling and they didn't know the difference. This building right here was left pretty much as is, or as it was. Had they treated all the buildings downtown like that, modernized them but left their antique appearance, they might have made this a real tourist trap. But as their intelligence was at the time, they didn't see the need to do that. And now it's just, most of it is vacant. I'm going to point down the alley to the canteen. Now, I didn't visit this place much when I was going to high school, but it started back in the Depression era, late 1920s, early 1930s, somewhere along there, by a woman who had a few kids, and they needed finances to keep going. So it's been the same kind of structure ever since then. In fact, the sign, I think, is basically the same. It's probably been painted a couple or three times since I was in high school. But this alley, this was the alley, and there was a lot of buildings around the canteen. This is what was called the Ottumwa Hotel when I was going to high school. It's got Hotel Ottumwa written on it. And it was bought by an insurance man by the name of Schwartz, and he's modernized it, put new windows in, and I don't know whether it's a hotel or whether he rents it out as apartments or what, but he fixed it, at least fixed it up and returned it to some semblance of its original appearance. I'm going to go on down the alley. It used to be kind of a dingy alley to come down. That's why I probably didn't come down to the canteen much. Canteen just serves loose hamburgers and potato chips and pie and ice cream and that sort of thing. This building here, right beside the Hoffman building, is now a dried up bank. It used to be, I said, the camera shop and telegraph shop and floral shop and 2 or 3 other things there. The building straight ahead was remodeled. Had this building all the years I was growing up. When I was very small, in the early 50s, all they had was this section on this side. Then they decided to remodel, and they bought all of that property. There was several buildings there, a small restaurant, and 2 or 3 other things, none of which were prosperous. And remodeled it into what is right now, but Penny's has since moved to a new location over in the new mall. This building is basically the same as it was then. There was this restaurant down below. I can't remember whether it was called the Coffee Cup or not, but I remember doing some artwork for the restaurant one time. This building was Polling's. It was Polling's when I was in high school. Going down there was May's Drug. I was going to high school now. It's no longer May's, it's Dollarton. Ben Franklin Fresky's is now Ben Franklin. Looking back towards where I came from, originally back towards the bridge and the railroad crossing. The Book Nook used to be a magazine store, kind of a novelty shop I used to like to go into. These buildings up through here, as I recall, never were rented very well. There wasn't much of anything in them. With all the renovations, or all the tearing down. It's lucky these buildings have lasted not that far around. It was called Baird TV and Appliance, and I used to get, that's where I got a lot of my coins, my coin collection. And down this street is where the TV station is, KTVO. All these look like that. Ever since I can remember. Ever since they started the TV station. And the Ottumwa Courier building looks the same as it did then. Going down here in the corner was the YMCA. Looks like it's deteriorated to nothing now. I remember coming down when I heard about the assassination of President Kennedy. I walked from the school up there on the hill, down this street, and saw in that window the headlines of his assassination. They had papers scotch taped to the windows. That was the press room in there. On this side over here was their general offices where all the circulation and so forth. That's beyond that. I just remember walking on down the street, crossing over at the light down there and getting on the bus and going home. And when I got home, Mom was watching all of it on TV, and we spent the whole weekend just watching all the things that went on at that time. The assassination of Lee Harvey Oswald and all of that. Was all live at the time. This building right here is the same as it was then. There's always an interesting kind of building to me. It's been everything from a clothing shop to now it's a carpet shop. Now I'm walking up the side of the street that I would walk up when I was going to school. This was always a little gas station. I think it was called Sinclair Gas. Memory serves. This is looking down Green Street. Capri Theater down there. There used to be two theaters. One was the Capri and the other one was the Capitol. And I think there's one more. This hill always seemed steeper when I was in school. Things always seemed to larger back then and steeper. This church up here doesn't look any different than it did then, other than maybe it's got re-roofed a time or two since then. This parking lot was here. I don't think it went all the way to the corner though. I think there was a building or two in there. This building here is the Sears outlet. It's the restaurant. There's a blonde building coming up on the corner. There's an insurance agent. Looks like this building, the blonde building on the left, is the Congressional District Office representing Jim Lightfoot. This building was the Greyhound bus depot. This corner was where I'd always get off the bus. The bus would come across the viaduct and make its turn here at the corner and drop all the school kids off. We always drove the city bus. There wasn't a great many school buses at that time. Plus they figured that we could get to school on our own anyway. Shot down towards the viaduct, just across the river. Now this was the long haul up to school, sometimes being late, or close to being late. I'd have to be on a dog trot to get up there on time. This is probably the last of the surviving trees that was along here at the time. There's houses in almost all of these lots here. They're all torn down. There's several houses torn down here. Let's over to the other side of the street. There used to be a rest home right here on this corner. Now they've torn it down and put an addition on the high school. I think that's the creative industrial arts side of it. That always seemed like a long flight of steps to run up to get into school. And sometimes I had class on the third floor. So then I had some more steps to run up. It's kind of a campus appearance now, where back then it did not resemble a campus at all. There was another rest home across the street here. It was the original site of the first, or one of the first Ottumwa hospitals. I remember when I started high school, we only went here 3 years, from 10th through 12th. They also had the initiation period that you had to go through, shining shoes and carrying books and doing all kinds of stupid things. And I got caught out here. There used to be a street that ran right here through here. I got caught by one kid he wanted his engine shined. So this initiation period was only for about 3 or 4 days when school first started. So I got my shoe shine rag all dirty with his engine oil. This church right here was there. It was always kind of an object of art class. We came over here and sat and drew the arches in the windows and so forth a lot of times. Actually, from the steps, there's quite a view. I'm going to go up the steps and then show the view. And here I am at the top of the steps. That's the Market Street Bridge out over there, down where I parked the car. That's the hill I just came up. And this is overlooking the viaduct which crosses the Des Moines River. That area over there where the smokestack is, that's the John Deere plant, where they make certain farm equipment. I'm not sure what all they make there now. They used to make balers and assemble some parts, tractors and otherwise. It's getting a little bit after 6 o'clock here now, so the sun's starting to begin to set. This is the high school my father attended also. Something. There used to be handrails that went up the center of the steps there, and there used to be also handrails along the sides of the brick there, going up towards the door. When I was a sophomore in high school, I had a teacher that his name was Mr. Traeger. I don't remember what his first name was. And he taught here when my dad went to school here. And he also was one of the first teachers when they built this building. They built it during really the depth of the Depression. Whether I could find the cornerstone or not. It was in the year of about 1929 or 28, somewhere along in there. And they spent an incredible amount of money for it. And that day it was about $1.25 million there or something in that neighborhood. And everybody thought it was an incredible amount of money to be spending on a school, but they went ahead and did it anyway. On the, what would be the third set of windows up was my art class. It's really the only room that I can remember. I know that the third floor, all along there, was a little study hall and this funeral home down here, directly down here, was there then. I think it's called Reese's, if I'm not mistaken. And there's other houses, a couple of 3 in this area on the right. This part I'm looking down towards now is what was called Jewtown. Kind of a slam on the Jewish people, but all their businesses were west of the viaduct, and on most of them on Main Street. I don't know how big the Jewish population was, but there were synagogues on down the street a ways. And back up this way was called there was this really old school building. It was called the Adams Building. And it looks like they made some renovations and tore it down. This was the back end of the high school. I'm not going to go around the back side of it because I don't remember it very well anyway. I'm going to take a shot down. This is Union Street. A pretty nice sunset today. So the school day, where our school went from 10 of 9 till 3:30. Either come out of this opening, this door right here, but usually the side entrance, and on a dead run, try to make it down to the corner there and catch the bus before it rounded the corner. And sometimes I made it, and sometimes I didn't. If I didn't, I knew that they would have to wait down there at the Hoffman building for about 20 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, to pick up passengers down there. So I would cut down another street and get to another bus stop before it would go over the viaduct, and then I'd have to walk home if I missed that. At the age of 17, I took a trip to California. My uncle brought me over here early one morning to board the bus right here at this place. And then I went to Sacramento, and then on to San Jose, and then came back about a month or 5 weeks later. Started my senior year in high school. The sign on this church has always been there. It's always looked that way ever since I can remember. So if I didn't catch the bus here, around the corner here, I'll head down to where those stoplights are. Beige building was a bowling alley. That's the place I bowled for the first time in my life doing a gym class. I actually did pretty well, about a 270 or not 270, 170. Everybody was kind of amazed at my score. That was just a fluke. Right in between, right where the green lights are, and straight through there was where the building was where my dad worked most of the time that I was growing up. He started there in 1947 or 48 and was transferred to Eddyville electrical plant in about 1967 or 68. That's when he had to buy a car in order to get there. So here's where I would catch the bus, like this, to the corner. Saloons then, and looks like it's saloons now. Take a look at back up Main Street the other direction. This was what they called Jewtown. The car over there is reminiscent of the era that I was living here. In fact, it's probably late 40s or early 50s vintage. Building down on the corner, it's called 3 Main Place. It's called the Bon Hall Hotel. Singer sewing machine place was there, so that stayed in business. Main Street again, on the other side of the street, that old car again. And some of the thin buildings that are along that side of the street. This building right here called Iowa Southern Utilities looked just about like that when I was going to school. I think it modeled it about that time. The building right next to it was called Montgomery Ward's. There was a restaurant on the corner. It looks like there still is. Or Washington or Giorgio's. I don't know what it was now. Now we're going north on Main Street. That's where the theaters were. That's where they are right now. I guess they're both, it's just one theater now. That's where I snuck off to watch my, well, it's not the first place I watched a movie at, but I snuck off to watch Beach Buddy movies here. Across the street again. This was Osco Drug back then. When I was in junior high or grade school, the Osco's was a little store right next to it. And they moved into this bigger store later on. Looks like it's a discount junk shop now. These buildings down here look like they've been renovated back to the original condition a few years ago. At the Brown Shoe Store. On the other side of the street now, looking at the theater. And on down the street. This building here was a shoe store. Pretty nice one at the time. working back up to where I started from. Market in Maine. That building, that part right there used to be as I recall, a paint store. Yeah, I can see paint written on the paint supplies and so forth. You've got paint wall covering there. Used to be a taxi in the area right down there where it says Pets R Us. That's where the Ottumwa taxi service was. See in the windows now of the bank, they're using them to display wedding dresses. The bank area was a two-story lobby area, very high ceilings in that area right there. It's really a nice looking building on the inside. I remember being with my dad one time when I was about, probably not more than 4 or 5 years before the battery ran out. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, my dad and I maybe Roger, were on the back side going down this alley. And on this side was buildings that were kind of like warehouses. They had loading docks and so forth. And these were the backs of the stores. They weren't dressed up at all. It was kind of trashy looking on the backside. I remember we were going to get over to the other side of the street because we were going to go down to where my dad worked, which was right down there where that kind of, but just beyond where that beige building is down there in the substation. And he had us by the hand, and I jerked away and ran across the street and was just inches away from getting hit by a car that was coming this direction. He gave me a good scolding for, and maybe even a swat or two for taking that away from me. This isn't a complete tour of the town, but it was parts that I frequented somewhat often.